Welcome everyone. This is the wonderful world of Excel and we are in module 3. We'll be doing the project, Sam Project 1A. So I've already opened up the file that we need to open up and I'm going to save it with the appropriate name. Since I already have it done, instead of just changing the name from a 1 to a 2, I'm just going to click on the 2 here. Click on save, and yes, I want to replace it. So we are now good to go, and of course you want to check in B6 to make sure your name is there. So the project steps start that Brett is an insurance agent for the great Midwestern Insurance Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's analyzing the invoice that he has sent to clients and the sales he generated in the third quarter of the year. He needs your help to complete the analysis. So if you're asking why do we need to learn Excel, just think of cha-ching, where you can make money assisting people in the many efforts that they have. Many people do not know Excel. If you are one that does, you can really help people out. So we're going to put in the client's invoices. I am now in step number 1B, sort of. I want to go to cell B3 and it wants us to put in the date. So I just decided to use the date function by typing it in manually just to show you how easy it is. So I'm going to click on date. Now notice it wants year, month, and day. So the year is 2021. I'm going to put a comma in and we want 6 and then 1. And that takes care of that. If you have a Mac, it may show as just 21 and not 2021. So, column F, we're going to do the actual age of the invoice. And the age of the invoice is taking the current date and subtracting the invoice date from it. So, we're going to click on equals and we're going to take the current date. Now, make sure that we hit F4. So that when you do that and you copy it down, you always get the B3 minus the invoice date. And that gives us 78. I've already checked to see if that's the right one. And it appears to be. If you got the wrong answer, check to make sure that your current date is correct. And make sure that you're not using the due date. You're using the actual invoice date. So it should be B3 absolute minus B6. That is number 2A, B, and C. And I actually messed up, so let me undo this because I did not read the instruction. And I'm going to do it without formatting. So I'm going to left click the plus sign, go down here, and actually it's right click. Sorry about that. I'm going to right click and use the plus sign so I get to fill without formatting. There we go. They say the third time's a charm, so it did that. So remember, use right click. If you're on a Mac, you're probably not going to get this over here, so don't worry about it. So that's number C. In column G, we want to calculate the invoice that is due. So we're going to actually use an if function. So it tells us in cell G6, insert a function using if to test whether the age of the invoice is greater than 0, or rather greater than 30. So that's fairly easy rather. I'm having a hard time talking. Maybe I need to get a cup of coffee. So I will take the if function here. And the logical test here is if F6, which is the age of the invoice, is greater than 30. And what we're going to do at that date, we're going to subtract the due date from the current date. So here's the current date. And make sure we hit F4. And this is the due date. And if it's false, then we're going to put in a 0. So this will tell us it's 48 days overdue. So this is a good time for me to check to make sure that I have the right answer, and I have 4848. tells us to drag it down using the fill handle and fill without formatting. So I'm going to do that, fill without formatting. So I have 48, 48, 30, 30, 1, 17, 1, 17, 0, and 0. So I have all the right figures so far. And I encourage you to always look at the sample that they give you, that if you make a mistake, you're going to pretty much pick up on it right away. So that is number 3. Number 4, Brett sends an email reminder to clients with overdue invoices for amounts more than $1,000. So we're going to go to cell H6. And it wants us to do an AND function. So let's go, let's do it a different way. Let's go to formulas. And here's logical and AND. And then the two conditions are the number of days in G6 is greater than 0. So we want D6 here. Rather G6, sorry about that. G6 is greater than 0, and D6 is greater than 1,000. And that takes care of that. And let's click on OK. And we're going to get a true. Then it tells us to use the fill handle to fill without formatting. And that looks good here. So I'm going to go back down and I have true, false, false, true, false, true, 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 false, false. So that takes care of that one, making sure that my data is correct. So now we are going to assign a rating of either A, B, or C, depending upon the number of days the invoice is overdue. So in cell I6, we're going to use an if function. And the first if function says if G6 is less than 1. So G6 is less than 1, which is the days overdue. If that is good, then we're going to give them an A. Now, we do not need to put in the quotes because it'll fill it in for us automatically. And then we have another if function that says, so we're going to have to type in if. And we have, let's see, it says, test whether the days overdue are less than 30. So then we're going to do G6 is less than 30. Then let's see what we need to have. We're going to do a B. Now I'm going to put the quotes here. And then I'm going to put in a quote C here. And we're good to go. So let's just double check this in here and click on OK. And that gives them a C. I'm going to right click and drag all the way down. I'm going to fill without formatting. And I'm going to go down to my data. And it says 4 C's, 1, 2, 3, 4 B's, and 2 A's. So that's a good sign. That is number, let's see what that is. That was number 5. Number 6 is clients are eligible for discount if they have an A rating or do not require an email. So we're going to go to J6, and I'm sure we're going to use an OR. So we'll go to logical again, and we're going to type in OR. And the first thing is if I6 equals A. So we're going to go I6 equals A. Now again, because we're not doing this alone and typing in the A alone, we need to put in the quotes. And then we want, and the H6 equals false. Now do not put in quotes on the false because this is not actually text. So we want to do the email equals false. So that gives us false, false, and we'll click on OK. Then I will drag and fill it. Without formatting, and I'm going to go all the way down. I have false, true, true, false, true, false, 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 true, true. So that looks like I did that correctly. So now we are on number 7. Brett likes to keep track of the total number of current invoices he has sent to clients. In B7, enter the formula. So we're going to use the count in here. So we want to go to B17. And we're going to use the count. So if you don't know where count is, now logical might be a good place to start, but let's go to more functions and statistical and see if we find it there, which we did. So we have the count function, and over here it tells you it counts the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. So if we try to do column C or column B, we should get 0. So just for the heck of it, let's go down here and see what we get, and we get 0. So, and that's what we should get because these are not numbers. So I believe it wants us to do A6 to A15. So now we should get an actual number, and it gives us 10. That is number 7. And Brett, this is number 8. Brett likes to keep track of the approximate amount he has billed clients. So we're going to go to B18. And we are going to use the round and the sum functions that adds the invoice. So I'm going to do it one of several different ways that you can. So let's go and do the sum for the amounts here. Let's click on equals and we'll do sum. And this is the amount in D. I'm going to click on OK, but notice that it's not rounding it. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to click after the equal sign, type in RO. Here's our round, double click. Notice that it fills in the parentheses for us here. So now all we have to do is go to the end and put in 0 and the other parentheses, and we're done. So it gives us in here 10406. So I'm going to go and check and see what we have in here. 10406 exactly. Now, don't confuse the round to 0, meaning display it in here. Don't confuse that. It's just what it rounds the actual number off to. So here we have number 10. Brett wants to calculate the percentage of each category of insurance distributed to his total sales because he wants to avoid a divide by 0 error. He's already entered the if error function. So the if error function will provide something for you, a tool, just to make sure that you're not actually dividing by 0, which of course in math is not a valid operation. So we have this over here and it says if error incorrect. So you don't want to delete that. So we want to read the instruction very carefully. So in cell 6, before the comma in the if error. So here is the comma here. So we want to go before. And what we're going to do here is using a function that divides the amount, we're going to do B6 by B12. So let's do B6 by B12. And we don't really need to put in any parentheses at this point in time. So for, let's see, B6 by B11. So I need to learn how to read. And we need to use absolute. So we're going to be calculating this, dividing it by this dividing it by that. And I'm going to fill it all the way down so it should add up to 100 even though it doesn't tell us to. So let me hit the enter key here. And it gives me 23%. I'm going to fill down. And if I've done it correctly, it should give me 100 at the very bottom. So that's 10, that's 1%. That's fine. Because we filled without formatting, then that's why we have 1 instead of 100%. So we use the fill handle to fill in here. It actually doesn't tell us to use it without formatting. So I'm going to go and just fill it. And let's go all the way down here. See, there's the 100%. So I will delete this, and that looks good. So our workbook should be complete. And I'm going to go down and check the last thing in here. We have 23, 20, 22, 18, and 17. I'm going to save this. And that is everything. So hopefully this was helpful for you, and have a wonderful day.